Morning, students. So in the last class, we discussed about the basic lights such as ambient light, direction light, point light, and spotlight. So now we're going to discuss about area light. That is a really a good light here. So anyway, so if you have if you remember what we discussed in the last class, we have Maya software mode and we have Maya hardware mode. If you have a good graphics card, help you in the hardware mode. And also we have a Arnold render. So in the Arnold render, if you try to render this, see, you won't get this anything. You won't get the output when you try the same output in Arnold render. The reason might be, the reason is because Arnold has its own light. So if you want to render any objects through Arnold render engine, then you should use Arnold lights. So what are the lights that we're discussing here? Such as an ambient, direction, point, spot, and area light. What are the lights here? They won't render in Arnold. In short, when you go to create lights, and if you use any of these lights, you can't render them using Arnold render engine. Then why we are discussing about it? Of course, but we can render it by using software and hardware. Okay, so that's the difference there. But you can render this by using the software mode. So the only difference here is when we want to render through Arnold, then we have to go through Arnold lights. So where are the Arnold lights? So this lights, I just turn it off now. Great. Now we can move to Arnold here. There is a menu called Arnold. If by any chance you couldn't able to see this Arnold menu, there might be two reasons. Number one, you might not have installed the proper version of Maya. Usually when you install the Maya, you would also get the Arnold menu there. The Arnold plugin will also get installed along with it, so you can be able to access that. If you're unable to access this menu, then it's not there. Now, number two, you might not have enabled the Arnold plugin. So go to Windows, Workspaces, there you can find your, Windows settings or preferences, that you can find your plugin manager. Okay, so go to plugin manager and check for Arnold. So if you already installed Arnold, then it must be enabled. Okay, if not, it's not enabled. So that is here. I think I could expand this a little bit. So here you can find M2A, Maya 2 Arnold. Okay, this is a plugin which is already installed in the Maya 2020 because I'm using a 2020 version. So that's how it is happening here. So let's close this. Okay. If that is turned on, which means you have this Arnold plugin on. If it is not, then your Arnold plugin is not on. So you need to remember that. And the next one I do is, let me go to my Arnold menu. Okay, now I could tear off this menu here. So I could access this by any time. So here you could see Arnold has its own render. Okay, Arnold render is there. When I hit the play button, it has to render the scene and show me. It did render, but there is no output it shows because the lights whichever we used here are not of Arnold lights. So what shall we do, sir? What we do is we have to create some lights from the Arnold. So let's go to the outliner and see what are the objects we have in the scene. We don't have any lights here. We have one ambient light, which is here. I just delete that. Okay, when I hit delete, it was deleted. So now what I do is I just stop this one render because I don't want this Arnold render engine to play behind. So do not let this turned on all the time. Don't do that. That would eat much of your memory. So please let it stop. Okay, then do minimize this. Okay, now with this in mind, I'm going to the Arnold menu. You have lights. There you have your lights. Click that. Great. So these are the Arnold lights. Now I can just, you can just close this menu. These are the Arnold lights. So throughout the classes, we'll be discussing in this semester about these Arnold lights because the render engine, what we're going to do or use here is Arnold. So when you render your 3D objects by using Arnold, it is mandatory that you should go with Arnold lights. So hence we are. Okay, let's see that. With this area light, all these lights are there, but mostly, predominantly, they would be giving us an area light at the first. So please click that area light. So we got an area light here. Now it's too small. So when I press F, it would show you. So this would emit light in this direction. That's why it shows this direction here. Okay, the light will be emitted in this direction. And also, when I press 7, you could able to get the lighting view. So now everything is black. You couldn't see anything. Now I just scale this light up. I'm scaling the light up. Right, it's a big light now. If you have seen that. Okay, I scaled the light up and I just positioned them here. Okay, now you might have seen. Yeah, I positioned the light here. Now, if there is, I just tilt it a little down because wherever it focuses, the light will be there. But why there is no light? Okay, there are two things in here. When you select the light and go to the attribute editor, click this one, or you can press Control A. Okay, both are the same. So when you do that, I'm sorry. Yeah, when you do a Control A, that you can get the Arnold lights property. I mean, the area lights property. So this is the area light. It says Arnold's area light. Okay, that's why it's called AI. And here you can find the color. Great. Intensity is already there, but why I'm still unable to see anything that is there. And there are three things that you should do. Number one is intensity. Great. Number two is exposure. And the next one is, let me just come down. And where is that? Where is that? Where is normalize? Okay. Just a minute. Okay. Okay, let's do this here. So first is intensity. It is 1, but I don't see anything. Why? Because the exposure is 0. So let's increase the exposure here. Okay, let me increase the exposure to 5. You see that now? You see a little light here? Right. Let's increase the intensity a little bit, not too much. Let's go with a 5 intensity. And the exposure here is 5. Maybe you can just switch it up to 10. Let's look at that. And also here you have a spread, how much you want the light to spread it. So intensity and exposure both matters most when it comes to light. So, and also we have, I was looking for some other options. Anyway, great. So could you see here, there is an option called normalize. This is the third option, which I was expecting. So intensity, exposure, normalize. So once the normalize is turned on, what would happen is everything is normalized. Whatever the light and whatever the value you apply here, everything will be normalized to it's like 0 to 1. Whatever the higher the value you do, you just bring it down to normalize. So that's why everything is like this. But anyway, let me just render this one and show in output. Now look at that. How does it look like? It's smooth and soft. It's all because of normalize. Okay. Look at that. It takes some time to render. If you have a good graphics card, this render would be done in time. And look at this. This is really bad. You should not have such black hatches, which clearly says that there is not enough light to scatter into the scenes. Maybe I could just notch up my intensity a little bit. Yeah, I would like to notch up my intensity a little bit. Maybe 10 will be fine. And I want to see the, yeah, the shadows has to be crystal clear, but it's not crystal clear, still have answer things. So maybe I can, yeah, the more the exposure, the more the white value. So don't do that. Don't try to go with too much of exposures, though. Maybe what if I increase my intensity to 20? Okay, so this out. So yeah, and in such scenarios, what we do is we just create another area light and we position it to the left side to make this appear a little better. And if you see it by default emits a shadow. You see that? By default, it emits a shadow. So it's a cast volumetric shadows. It is emitting, so you're getting the shadow, sir. So what if I duplicate this one? Control D is a duplicate. Then I just rotate this one. Then I just position this here. So it's almost like I had to rotate this a little. Then I had to tilt this. Yeah, a little like this. Look at that. So now I had another light. Now you could see this is light bleaching. What is light bleach? Look at this. This round area is light bleach because it's whatever the texture of this object or whatever the color of this object, which is the ground, which you can't see because there is too much light. We call this light bleaching or light bleeding. Okay, so we should avoid that. So which means the light is too heavy on the ground. So the one way that I could avoid this, I could just lift the light a little up. Okay, so instead of falling on that, it would fall on this object. And I could keep this light a little away from the surface, I mean from the ground. So I just stop this one. That would take too much of my memory. I'm unable to do anything in my scene. Okay, so because at the back end, it works a lot. So I do this, I just move it a little back. Now look at that. Let me just play. Okay, now here is another thing. It's too much of light which is emitting. Even here you can get a light bleed. Even here you can get a light bleed. So we should consider that when applying lights, we should not go with much values. So now, since this is the second light, this is the primary light, whereas this is the secondary light. So I don't want this secondary light to have shadow. I want only the primary light to have the shadow. So I select the secondary light, which is area light shape 2. I just disable the cast volumetric shadows. So now the light will fall on the object, but the shadow will not fall on the object. And the primary light always have the higher emission level, intensity. The secondary level should always go with the lesser one. So select the second one, then I just bring down the intensity, not too much, maybe a 5 or something like that. Then I select the first one. Then I just bring this also a little down because I don't want too much light bleeding there. Okay, and exposure, we can not notch up too much of exposure because that would create too much of impact on the scene. So that is also there. Yeah, 10 is really making a big noise there. That is one. So here I can select this. I can notch up this intensity. And here I reduce the exposure, not too much. Okay. So this is how we like. We just have two light. One is a primary and there was a secondary, or we can call it as a key light, which emit a primary, and it's a fill light. So whatever the area which is not filled by the key light is now filled by the fill light. Okay, that's how we are doing it. So we have a spread. Okay, everything is fine there. So let's move on to the second one. Now I delete the. Now let me explain you because I want to delete the secondary light or the fill light. Okay, let's have the fill light. I want to delete it. Great. Now I have only one light, which is the key light or a primary. Now within the primary light, if you see there is an option called normalize. So what if I turn this off, or when I make the normalize to disable, just unclick, just uncheck this checkbox. The moment you do that, intensity, exposure, everything will be notched up there. You see that? Yeah, that's too much value. So now I had to move the intensity to 1. I had to make the exposure to 1. You see that? Now you can increase your intensity. Also, you can increase the exposure, not too much. Okay. So now you know how this works. So you can always bring it down. You can always bring down the normalize and make it work. Yeah, look at that. That's fine. So with this normalize disabled, you could be able to achieve the detail with a lesser number of intensity and exposure. So normalize is when you make some changes, and when you enable the normalize, what it does is it just do an average of all the values and gives you and gives a smooth output within 0 to 1. That is what normalize. Normalize is taking any value and averaging it and bringing it down to 0 to 1. So that is in the word normalize. The same applied here. But when you disable the normalize, you could be able to achieve the output with a lesser number of intensity and exposure. So area light would be used in most of the cases in our outputs, like lighting in interior, lighting in exterior, or anything. Because area light, the advantage of area light is it works like a real light. It has a fall down value, which means it has a fall off. It won't emit light throughout the screen. You remember the direction light which we discussed in the previous class? The direction light is something, if once you put a direction light to point along one direction, no matter how much kilometer it is or how much miles it is, the direction light will keep on emitting the light. It doesn't have a, so that is one disadvantage of that. Of course, we could able to bring it down. Anyway, the same here, whereas with this area light, it would do the same, but the light will fall off. It won't travel a long path. By default, it will limit itself to a certain point of time. So thus it acts like a real light. Okay, that's what the advantage of an area light. The area light would really helps us in many cases, like lighting interior, lighting exterior, and doing many such things there. Okay, now you can take a duplicate and you can position this here to make a smooth fill light. This is a key light because it is emitting a light, and whichever area which is not filled properly, which is not lit properly, okay, that will be covered by a fill light. So that's what fill light is. So you can just take a duplicate and you can click it here. Then you would know how the fill light works. I hope you guys understood about the key light and fill light concept with the Arnold's first area light. And next to that, we'll be having other lights here, which are, yeah. So let's stop this here. I'll just stop the render. Great. I'm going to go to my file and this Arnold. So go to file, then I think I can store snapshot. Great. So once I go to view and hit store snapshot, it's saved here. Okay. Whereas that in the software render mode, it was different. We had a keep render image in view. That's a software render. Whereas this is an Arnold render, it works in this way. It just keeps snapshot under the view map. Okay. I think store snapshot, and it's already there somewhere here. I can forget it. Anyway. Now, before I go further, I would like to explain you about this Arnold render view. So when you go to the Arnold render view, you have all the views there. When you can see the red channel and only the green channel, on the blue channel, whatever channels you want to see, you could see that. Okay, it is all the channel. Now everything is what do you call that? Now everything is just black and white, like just a white light without any texture or material, so you won't see any difference. And you can see the difference only when you apply something. So when you click here, red, green, blue, and alpha means whichever area an object is available, that will be in white color. And whichever area where there are no objects, that will be black in color. So we call this an alpha. Again, click here, it's luminance, then RGB. Red, green, blue, alpha, luminance, and RGB again. And this one tells you about the alpha channel. Again, you can easily see, okay, which area is alpha channel or not. But why do we use this? Why do we need this alpha channel? Because at many cases, when you export a 3D render for any visual effects project, you should know where the 3D objects are real. Okay, because you don't want to render the unwanted areas in your scene. You want to render only the specific areas. So alpha channel would help you during visual effects for post-processing and all. So alpha is most important one in my case. And this is 1:1, which is the size. Look at that. Now it's not. So it's now 1:1 size. So you can just fix this. Is for visual purposes, we could use that. Again, I clicked it. See, this is how the render window is. The original render size is. Whereas when you zoom in, it comes to a different level. Now we are zooming, right? Again, when you click this, it will take you back. That is one thing. And here is crop region. I won't be using this. Then this is the shutter. And again, I won't use this. I won't recommend you to use that. Also, you can. This is what do you call this? There's a gamma value, I would say so. Anyway, but I won't use this. Gamma values, let this be there. And here you have the start IPR, interactive photorealistic rendering, and this is stop IPR. And here is a refresh render. So these are things we have. And if you want to add any comments on this for this snapshot, you can add this. I can select this, you can add any comment on it. So it's just for your understanding. That's it. So these are the objects that we'll be doing. I'm sorry, I think I should Yeah, that's fine. Now again, so this is your area light. So next to area light is we have another light, which is sky dome light. That's also another good one, I would say. So let me select this area light and delete it. Next one is sky dome light. But anyway, we'll be discussing much about sky dome light in our further classes. We have separate classes to discuss about sky dome light. I have something special for that. So let's go to something else. Anyway, let's talk about photometric light is there. Let's see, photometric light. Great. And there you can see a photometric file. It asks you to give a photometric file there. Okay. So what I do here is I could just delete the light. Okay, I go to my layer. Maybe I can select them all. And I select this, click this top rightmost layer. Now all the objects selected are added to this layer. I can turn on the visibility and turn off to confirm whether they are added to the layer or not. Then I double click here to change the name of this and name it as dominoes. Okay, and I just hit save and I disable this. Right. Now let me start with a new something new there. Maybe I can just start a plane again. Okay, here's my plan. Then the next thing I do is I'll just okay. Then I can have another cube. Fine, I just press Control D and R. Just put one here. Okay, just for my other side. And maybe I could so now I can put a cube, press F, R for scaling. Then along the y-axis, I can just scale it like this. Now what I would do is I want to make a chair here. Okay, I want to make a chair. So let's see how to make a chair here. I'm sorry, just scale this. Yeah, and great. You know what? I can start from scratch. Again, I'm sorry for that. Shift right, like cube. Great. R, done. R is for scaling, you know that. Great. Now I just use my shift right click. There is an insert edge loop. When you do that, you have to select the object, then do shift right click. To get an insert edge loop, I can just click once here, twice here, and once here, and once here. So it's good. Now I select right click, I go to face mode. You should select the object. I mean, you should select the object, then right click, go to face mode. Now select the faces by holding shift. So you can select multiple. Now hold the shift key and left click on your mouse with the move tool selected, press W, you get the move tool. Now hold your shift on the left hand and left click on your mouse on the right hand, just pull them down. So you got a chair there. Yeah, that's really cool. Now, what I could do is I could just select this face and this face. I'm just doing the same here now. You see that? Hold your shift key, left click and drag. Now you could see the chair is ready there. The chair is well ready. So now I can, here I want to draw an insert edge loop and I can extend it here. So shift right click, insert edge loop, 1, 2, 2, then 3, then 4. Great. Now I select this one, shift this one, shift this one. I just extend it. So here is the chair. Okay, you got a chair there, and now let's want to know what's next. We need a let's take in cylinder. Great. This is my cylinder here. I think it has less number of edges. So go to the inputs, the right side, and the axis is having only 5. So I click here and I come to my viewport, middle click my mouse, then I drag. You see that? That's cool. Yeah. Now I could just press R to I want to create a table. So let it be like this. So here we are doing it. So here I just make this a little more like this. Fine. Then if you see there is an subdivision caps, which is 1. What if I select this, come to my viewport, left click, now come to viewport, middle click and drag. You see that? Now you got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'll get many there. So I just increase this to 6 or whatsoever. Now, because I want to select only the middle ones. So right click, go to face mode, select the faces one after the other. Guys, I always keep my tool, move tool enabled, W, but if you feel it is a little distracting you, press Q or use this one. That would be good to select. And I always hold my shift key to select multiple selections. So while holding the shift key on the left hand, I'm just left click on the mouse, then I selected them. Once it is done, I always go back to my move tool. The shortcut key is W. I can just shift, select this move tool. So it's like this. So it's up to you how to do that. So you can make it small, you can make it big, you can do anything. But anyway, I just end it here. Then I right click. Once you're done, come back to object mode. If you want to do anything here, I shift right click. I go to insert edge loop. Now look at that. If you listen carefully here, when you do shift right click on the empty space, you would get some other object. Whereas when you select an object and do shift right click, then you get an insert edge loop. Now I could select here. Great. Now I right click, I go to face mode. I want to select only these faces. Look at this. I'm not selecting like this. That's too bad. You're selecting everything. I don't want to select the bottom. I don't want to select the bottom. I don't want to select the top. So the best way is you can always go to a front view or some other view. This is really best way. Now you can just select this, only this faces. Now go to the perspective, you can see that. Yeah, you get that. You select only this. Now you can do is press and hold the R key. Hold the shift. Now click at the middle and extrude them. You see that? Now they extruded. Now I go to my side view. I just scale them down. Fine, it's done. Here is my table. If you see clear, if you watch carefully, the bottom of my chair and bottom of the table, the both are aligned together. So that's how I do this. Okay, great. Now what is next? Now the next thing is we're going to do something different, which is, here's the chair, right? the chat is here. And I'm sorry, the reason why I'm not getting in the top view is I have to turn the wireframe on shaded. Only then I can see the objects clearly. Yeah, now I could say it. Now here is my table, chair, the center point is there. So when I rotate, it will rotate like this. But what if I move my center point to center point of the table? So when I rotate, I can create more chairs by using Control D. Yeah, let's see that. Now select this chair. I want to move the pivot point. So press and hold the D key and move it. If you remember, if you want to snap this to this object, you have to press and hold D plus V. Now move this. Yeah, it snapped to the vertex. Press DV on the left hand and left mouse on the right hand. Now you did this. Now it's done. Now select the chair, press E. You see that? When you rotate, you get like this. Great. So what I do is I use Shift D, and I do duplicate there. Now again, another Shift D. Great. Now we got 3 chairs on one. Let me select them, all the 4. I could position them there. So maybe you can just, I could just do it and I could bring them here. Okay, maybe like this. Maybe it's like a restaurant where it's just a restaurant outside under the skylight or on the sky roof, whatever you want to wish, you can go there. So these are the objects there. And of course, you can give some lights, but not now. Now I just let me save the scene. So file, save scene as, there is a huge problem here when it comes to saving the scene because I have not properly created a project to do this. So that's really bad of me. I should create a new project, maybe go to the project window. Let me create a new project. So hit new. And first I would like to say this. Lighting rendering, and I want to save this in different locations. So I prefer my computer G, and I have I'm sorry, my computer D, and there I have VIT, and there I have winter 21-22 Chinese, and I can have my folder here. So that is the file. The thing is, I just want this folder, right? Inside China, I want my project. So just select that. Now inside that China folder, now you can find another folder called LR GDUT. I just saved that GDUT students because I'm also handling other lighting rendering classes in VIT. So I prefer GDUT to be fine. Great. Now this says that it's a project window, which means all my scene files of Maya will be stored in a folder called scene. All my templates will be stored in a folder called assets, and all my sound script will be stored in the folder names, relevant folder names. If you want to change the name of the folder, you can change it here. Okay. So from now on, why we use this project is because you should know whenever you want to carry your project file, whenever you want to carry your project, you should take this entire folder. You should take the entire folder from one computer, then you should put the other folder, other computer. So that all your project files, your textures, your images, whatever the reference images you have, that will be stored only inside the folder. So that's really, really good way to start with. So throughout the semester, all my lighting files, all my lighting class files will be saved inside this folder. So that's good. I just hit accept. Okay, now we have selected and done it, but did I map to my scene? Now go to file and hit save scene as. See, it shows exactly inside China, inside LRGDUT, inside scenes. Great. If it doesn't source to you, don't worry. Go to file again. We created a project by using project window. Fine. Now let's set the project. So go to set project. Now I want to choose LRGDUT. This is the project which I newly created. I want to set that. So what does that mean is, whichever the new project I created, I mapped that project to the current file. So now I hit the save button. Yeah, the same thing. It was already showing the same to me. But by any chance, if it doesn't source to you, then you have to set the project. That's what I show you now. So now it's, I just saved this as, what do you call that? LR a photometric. This is a photometric light. So LR photometric, and I just save this. Now, let's see where this file is. Now I go here under my VIT. There again, I have a winter 21-22. Inside that I have China. And inside that I have a lighting. See, LRGD, this is my project we were discussing. Now go inside. See that? So these are the folders which were created by Maya. We call it as a project. So whenever you want to go somewhere or carry your files, please copy the entire file to your pen drive and take to other computer, then you can use. But you should keep all your files only inside it. So when I use some render texture images, I would be using inside the source images, or I would use this image folder. Now remember we already saved the file here, which is LR. It shows on the top it is a photometric light. You go to inside the scenes folder, that you can see LR photometric light. That's cool, right? So LR photometric light. But when my friend asked me to share the file, or if you have to take this project to show it to a client, don't take only this file. That's too bad. You should come out and take this entire folder. That's how it's organized. But when you work, always keep that in mind. All your images and textures, whatever you're going to use for the entire semester, all the files has to be kept inside the relevant folders of the project. Do not paste the files anywhere outside the project folder. That is highly recommended, unless when you copy the file, then the supported files or relevant files would be missed if you don't keep them inside the same folder. So this is a habit. So maintaining a project is a habit where whenever it comes to work in Maya, all the reference files and the images, videos, whatever you use, you should keep them only inside this project folder. Great now. So now we just created one. It's fine now. Let's see. I saved the file. Now let me just create a photometric light. Said good here. Photometric light. I'm sorry. Yeah. When I press 7, I don't see any big changes there. It's all look the same to me. Yeah. So let me go to my attribute editor. We have color, we have intensity, everything is there, but then white was not working. That is there. So I have some materials here, which is IES profiles. I'll share this IES profile with you. IES profiles. I just copy the location from my Explorer. Let's use this IES profile here. So it is called as a photometry file. Let me just click this folder and locate that position where it was. So this IES profile, I just get to take my area light. Great. I just load my first profile here and I just load it. And as usual, I increase my exposure. Yeah. We can disable the normalize like what we did previously. Then we could do it. So it would work fine. You see that? So this is a photometric light where I was using an ambient profile. So this is one light. You can just use it here. I use Control D to create one there and Control D to create another here. It's just for your understanding. Now, in the scene, we just created 3 lights. So the first point here is please enable normalize. The normalize has to be enabled unless you can't see the output here, output there. So now let me just select this light and click here and load area light. Again, I select the first light and the photometry file, click the folder and choose area light. This IES files that I shared with you, please to check with your system. Check with the files that I shared with. Now, everything's fine. Maybe what if I go to my Arnold menu and hit render? You see that? Yeah, that's it is. It's just working fine, but it's too much of light there. So what I could do is I could just select these 3 files and I could move them a little to the front. Yeah, see that now? So that's how it is. Maybe you can just scale them up or down, and you can position them. And the problem is not with the position where they are, it's with the values that we have assigned them. So let's bring down the exposure. I mean, we have to go with one by one. So bring down the intensity and an exposure and move it a little off. Sorry, the intensity be this and the exposure be this. Let that both be 3 by 3. The samples I want it to be 3. And again here with this light, it's the same here. I want 3 by 3. And again here with this light, I want 3 by 3. The samples also be 3. Samples is about it's iterating the same thing again and again. So don't worry much about it. And this is the output there. And if you want it more, you can just scale it up, or you can change this light. Instead of an area light, you can click and choose there is an jellyfish. So this is a jellyfish light. So it has to give feel like a jellyfish kind of thing. So this is jellyfish light. We can increase the intensity, and you could see how jellyfish light works. Okay, so there are many other profiles there. You guys can try that profiles. So so that you would know how it differs from each one. And there is an umbrella, and there is display. You see that display? Now how it is? You could use this for display an object in the scene, like an interior product lighting. You could use this. So what if I increase this to 4 and 4? You see that? Now the light is different here. Whereas here I can select another profile, maybe X arrow or scatter light. Yeah, you see that's a scattered light there. The light is scattering in many places. You could just scale it up, or you can rotate. You can do anything you want. So that is one thing. So try these lights in the photometry, then you would know. Thank you guys. We'll meet again in the next class. Thank you so much.